So welcome to this episode where we are building our YouTube searcher app in FlutterFlow. Hope you've been following along. In this particular episode, we are going to focus on building our search screen. Now, most applications require some mechanism of search. This application is no different. We're going to want our users to search for their YouTube videos. So let's crack on and let's build this screen out. So first up, make sure that you've got the widget tree activated there and selected. Let's hit the little plus icon up here. Let's create a brand new page. But instead of us actually creating a brand new page, what we're going to do is we're actually going to use a FlutterFlow template. That's going to be our kickstart to kind of get most of the kind of components that we need for our application. So let's just do a search for the word search. And this is the sort of screen that we're looking for, is this search results. So choose use my theme. So what this will do is this will just make sure that we're not actually using the template that the actual sample was using at the time. We want to use our own theme in our application, and you'll see why in a second, because when we actually use the theme, we can actually then pull out the configuration that we did in very early on in our series where we were kind of setting up the colors and all that kind of stuff. It will actually pull it from that instead of using the template. So let's give this a name of search page, hit create page. And here we go. So this is kind of like seems like some medical template as a sample. We're going to make a change to this now so we can make it more accustomed to our application. So where it says search patient, let's just change that. And we're just going to simply call this search, I think. And in here, there seems to be some sort of text that they've got in there as an initial value. Well, we're going to want to remove that. So let's select that and then hit delete. And then it says search for patients. We want to change that term that we've got in here where it says search for patients. We're going to want to change it ourselves. So just move down to the label text, and we're just going to say search for video. That should be fine. So that's all that we need to do. And of course, when we run this application up and we put our go to put our text in there, then search for video will just be there as a hint text just above the actual the field itself. So in here, there's some, if we look here on the left hand side here, we've got a list view, which is going to be kind of scrollable. Here they've got like lots of kind of sample kind of containers in here just to kind of give everybody an idea of kind of what it would look like. Let's just go ahead and actually delete all of these out. We don't need any of these in here. So let's just kind of cut them out. Okay, so now that they're all gone, we're going to want to customize the actual row itself. So, okay, so within our list view, we've got still a piece of sample content, which we're going to want to remove and customize it to our liking. So down on the left hand side, you can see the list view there, which is kind of like the full view. Then we've got the container, and then we've got the row. Let's move out the image, column, and card. We don't need those. So just by selecting them, we can just hit delete just to kind of get rid of those. Now within inside our row, we're going to want to put an icon button first, because we're going to want the user to be able to actually delete the row, so we don't need that. So let's just choose icon button, and then after the icon button, we're going to want to put a row in, because we're going to want to put some text in there, and also as well an icon which represents the actual whether somebody's actually marked the search term as a favorite. So let's also just choose the plus there. Let's choose the icon again, and we're just going to want to simply choose icon. That's all that we need to do. And then finally, what we also need to do then is put a little search icon here, because we want to make sure that when we actually come back into this screen, if there's a term that the user's already searched for, they can just hit the search and it will just carry out that actual search. So let's put in here, let's actually just outside of this row, because the row encapsulates our text and our icon. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put something at the end of this row here. So we've got the icon button, we've got the row, and then after the row, we can then put the actual icon button itself. So let's choose icon button. And that's going to be right towards the end. But it will be actually, once we've actually selected the row, we're going to then want to expand the row out to the full width. So we just hit the little expansion option there, and it just pushes it out for us. So let's now work on our icons. So on the left hand side here, we've currently got a rather large icon button. We're just going to want to make a few changes to that. We don't want the icon to be a plus. We actually want it to be kind of like a cross to actually get rid of that term. So with inside the icon here, let's choose, say, clear. So we just want like a simple little icon for an X there. That's great. Let's just reduce the size of this icon. Let's just reduce this down to 20. I think that's pretty good. And on this right hand side here, we just want to also change this as well. So just select that icon button. Let's go down to icon, and then let's just do a search. So that's good. Let's just choose that one now on the left hand side there, and let's also reduce that down to 20. In fact, yeah, that's probably good enough. So in fact, let's just reduce that down to say 15. I think that's probably just a little bit too big. There we go. And then with this particular icon, we can come in here and we're just going to, instead of this being kind of setting an outline, let's look for a heart. Let's just choose just a normal material heart there. And let's actually change the color just for good measure. Let's just choose a red here so it stands out. I think that is fine. In fact, let's just change the size down to 15. And that's a good start. We can put some sort of padding here. So for example, on the right hand side here, let's choose, say, let's choose 20. Let's just push that out a little bit. So then we've got like a little heart symbol. So we'll come back and we'll put some conditional sort of visibility on that, so we can actually sort of turn that off and turn that on depending on whether the term is being marked as a favorite. So next up, let's sort this bit of text out up here. We don't need it to say patients matching search. So let's just go up here and let's just change this to the term history. I think that's fine. And there's a number here. We're not going to be doing a count. So let's just delete that. We don't actually need that. So that's good. And then maybe actually, what have we got here? We've actually got the column. We've got the row. I think just for good measure, let's just put a little bit of padding there so we can drop that down. So that's looking pretty good. So next up, let's just make one little change here on this particular screen. I'm not too happy with the back arrow up here because that's not really how our application is going to work. So on the home screen, we've got the little search icon up the top right. When the user selects that, we're going to then want to display the search screen. And of course, then when you press the X, we then want the search screen to disappear. So let's just quickly make that change now. Let's choose the icon button. Let's, instead of saying arrow back rounded, let's just look for close. Let's choose an X, and then let's just reduce the icon size to say 26. We just want to reduce the size of it just slightly. So that's pretty well much it. That is the basics of our search screen. That's what we need. We're now going to have to do some plumbing now. We're going to have to now connect up this particular list view and the results within with some application state that will look after and store and persist, of course, on the mobile device, all of the search terms that has been previously searched for. So let's do that now. Okay, so move over to the app state option here on the left hand side. So just choose app state. We're inside here, and of course this should be quite familiar to you guys now. We're just going to now choose a new variable called history. It's going to be a string, of course. It's going to contain a list of terms that we're going to need to keep persisted. So it's going to be a list, and of course it will be persisted. We do want these terms to remain on the device. Just hit create, and it's as simple as that. That's all that we need to do. So let's move across now to the widget tree. And what we're going to do now is we're now going to generate the children for our list view. We want our list view to contain a list of all of these search terms. So on the actual widget tree here, just choose the list view, and then on the right hand side we are going to call this a variable name. And just incidentally, you just need to make sure that you just choose the generate dynamic children tab to get this up. Just choose a variable name of term, because it's a search term. That's what we're going to keep in there. And then within inside here, we're going to choose app state, and we're going to choose the history option there, which is the state variable that you've just created. So hit confirm, and we're just going to hit confirm here now and hit OK. So we're now going to see that list now represented within inside our list view there, that we've got children. So next up, we're going to change our hello world text now to be the actual search term from our state. So just make sure it's selected, move over to where it says set from variable, and of course we just want to choose term item, and we're just going to hit confirm. That is all we need to do, because it's just a simple string. So that is the main bulk of the UI that's created here. We're now going to need to start hooking up the actions against each of the items. But just as a test, we're going to want to display the search screen from our home page. So we're going to quickly do that, and then we're going to quickly enter into the test mode, and we'll just check to make sure that everything is how we want it to be. So what I'm going to get you to do is go over to the home page itself, and we're going to click on the little icon button up here, and we're going to add an action just here. So choose add action. And what we're going to do is we're just going to simply choose navigate to, because we're going to want to display our search page. So just choose navigate to. And of course, what we get listed here is a list of the pages that we've created. Of course, we're just going to want to choose search page. And then within this particular set of options here, everything is as we need it to be, but the transition type will allow us to represent the way that the screen is actually going to be presented to you. So what we want to do is we want the actual screen to slide up from the bottom. So you can see it there. What we need is slide up, but you could choose any of these options if you want, but slide up is the look that we actually want within inside our application. So just choose slide up, and that's all that we need to do. So let's now run this up and let's see how it behaves. So we're in run mode now, and you can see our screen is loaded now. If we just choose the little search icon there to the top right, our screen now slides up from the bottom, and of course by choosing X should actually send it back down to the bottom again. So that's the effect that we need. Of course, when we do go to search, we're not actually seeing any search terms here, but we'll see how that works in a second. What we'll do is we'll actually add some terms into our app state to then just to test that that's actually working okay. So within inside our application, let's move over to the app state option again. Let's choose the history and just choose that option there. We're going to add some items in here. So let's just do a search term 1, and then let's just do search term 2. Let's just go back over to the test mode. Let's just hit instant reload. So applications load up, hit the search, and there we have it. There is our search terms come from our app state. So one thing I'm not particularly crazy on is actually the size of this little search icon there. So I know in previous videos I've said that don't get too fixated on the actual design, but in our application I'm not overly happy with the size of it. So let's just reduce that to increase that to 20. Let's go back to instant reload, and we should see a larger search icon there. There we go. That's a little bit more in keeping now with the design that we're actually looking for. So next up, we're going to want to now hook some of these options up now to actually do something. So let's move back over to FlutterFlow, and within inside the widget tree, let's now choose the icon button that we've got there on the left hand side, which represents the removal of the term from within inside our history. So that's really simple in FlutterFlow. We can actually go into the app state, we can actually remove the item out, and then it will show us then the list with that item removed. And we can do that quite simply by clicking on the add action, and we're going to want to now make a change to the app state. So let's just say it's on tap, and we are going to want to update the app state just here on the right hand side. And what we're going to do is we're going to say add field, and what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to choose history, because that's the list that we need to actually manipulate. So within inside the set fields, just choose that, and the update type is actually going to be remove from list. So choose remove from list, and then it's going to be from variable. So of course what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take the term value into the list and say, if you find this one in the list, remove it out. So by simply choosing the term item is all we need, because it's just that simple string. Hit confirm, and that's all that we actually need to do. So the next part, we're going to now manipulate the visibility of this particular heart. Now the idea of the heart is that if you remember back to a few videos back, we have some state within inside our application called initial search. So it's the term that's set when the application loads up. If it's present, it will then carry out that search. We now want to actually select the heart to be only be displayed when the initial search term matches the name that we've got here. And the way that we do that is we do some conditional visibility. So I'm just going to choose the icon, and then up the top here you've got this option called conditional visibility. So with the icon selected, let's just turn that on. And within inside this particular option here, just choose the unset, and we're going to want to put a condition on this. So we're going to say if it matches, then display. And the way that we do that is we just simply choose conditions. We're going to do a single condition, and we're going to say the first value being our term. So we say our term item, and that's all we need to do is hit confirm. And we say that if it's equal to our initial search value, which is in our app state, so just choose that. We want to select here, we want to say from variable, we want to scroll down, we want to choose unset, and we're going to go to app state, and we're going to choose the initial search value and hit confirm. That's all that we need to do. So conditional visibility will literally just show and hide that. So what we're going to do is we know that in our app state, so just move back over to app state, we know that we created some values here. So search term 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put search term 2 as the initial search. So in fact, it's already there already, initial search term 2. Of course, it could be any different value that you might have had in there, but it's already search term 2. So what's going to happen now, if I move back over to test mode, let's now just do a reload of our application. We should see the heart icon appear only against the search term 2 option. So if I hit search, there it is. That's all that we need to do. And just to prove that actually is working, let's just choose that to search term 1, go back into test mode, hit reload, hit the search, and there it is. It's marked there. So next up in our UI, we now want to hook the little search icon up to actually go and do something. We want it to carry out the search. So let's move back over to FlutterFlow. Let's move back to the UI builder, and let's focus our attention on the search. So let's choose the icon button there, and let's move over to the action, and let's open up the action flow editor. And here we go. Let's start adding our actions. So what we're going to do first is we're going to make that API call that we should be quite familiar with now. So let's make the API call, and the API call that we're going to call is obviously the search that we've done previously. We know that our action output variable is going to be automatically generated for us in this instance, so that's absolutely fine. So we know we're back into this condition again. Of course, if our API call is successful, then we're going to move down in this particular direction. And of course, what we're now going to want to do is we're now going to want to set our application state with the result that comes back from our API. So if you recall that we've got two, we've got the actual search results themselves, and of course we've also got the refinements that we need to set as well. So let's choose the little plus icon there. Let's go to add action. Okay, and we are going to want to set the app state, so choose app state. We're going to want to set the field. So we're going to want to set the search results first, so choose search results. Choose the search results option, and we're going to want to go back in here to say set value, and of course we're going to move saying from variable, and we're going to move down into our JSON response. So we know that it's an action output. Okay, so the action output is up here, so choose action outputs. We're going to choose the API response, and then within inside here we're going to set the JSON body, and within inside here we're going to say JSON path, and of course within inside here we've got video, because that is the list that we need. So just hit confirm. So next up, let's choose another action here. So just choose action, and we're just going to also do the same thing as well. Update app state. We're going to want to choose the field. We're going to go into this time the search refinements. We're going to choose search refinements. We're going to say the update type, okay, is the set value. Of course, we're going to choose value source from variable. We're going to choose our unset, and this time again, it's the action outputs, and it's the result again. We're going to choose our API response as the JSON body, and within inside here, we're going to say JSON path, and this time we're going to say, so it's $refinements, and hit confirm. So that is all that we need to do at this particular stage. So let's hit close, and let's just quickly go into our test mode here. Let's just do an instant reload. Just want to prove that we're not getting any unexpected behaviors when we go to carry out that particular search. Go here, go to search, hit that, and we should expect nothing to actually happen at this particular stage. But actually what is actually happening behind the scenes, it is actually making that API call. And we can prove that by pressing, if you're on Google Chrome, press F12. And we can just go to the network, which we already selected, just choose the search, and it's just carrying on hitting our search JSON sort of dummy kind of URL that we set up previously. So of course, if you don't quite get that up, just make sure you've got network selected up here. Choose where it says fetch XHER, and then you'll see the responses coming back. So we know that we're getting our API call being made. So of course, one thing that we're going to want to do is every time the user actually selects the search, we're going to want to close down the search window or the actual page itself, and that's easy, and that can be done very, very easily by going into our action flow editor again. So just make sure you've got the icon selected, choose open, and then down the bottom here we would just want a final state. So we just hit the plus there, had action, and we're just going to want to close the dialog, drawer, etc. Just pop So just choose that. Simple as that. That's all that we need to do. So of course, go back to our test. Let's just hit the reload again. Go back up to search, hit that, and it closes down. So of course that would have now carried out that search, and then our screen would have refreshed there now with our proper results that we got back from our API. Now of course we aren't actually using our proper API yet. We haven't actually set FlutterFlow up to do that. So in the next video, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to hook this up to the real API that we've created a few videos ago, and we should now start to see a real good behavior of our application sort of coming together. Really, we're starting to see those results come back with the terms that we're actually using. So we're very, very close to doing that. Okay, the final part that we want to do in this particular video is we want to hook our search text box up to then do the actions that it needs to do. So not only is the term that the user fills in here going to be added to our history, we're again going to want to carry out that API call as well. So let's move back over to FlutterFlow now, and let's do that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to want to name our text field, because we're going to be referencing that within inside the action flow editor in a second. So with the text field selected, up here to the top right, there's a little pen symbol here against a text field. Let's now just rename that. So by selecting that, we can just say search. We'll just call it search term, and then hit the little tick box there, and that's all that we need to do. With it selected, we're now going to move into the action flow editor, and let's now handle the on submit action. So let's choose the open on the action flow editor, and let's add an action. So the first action we're going to do is invoke our API. So let's just make sure that's selected and choose API call here. Just make sure that we make sure it's still selected, and choose the API call that you want to make. So it's search on this occasion here. Now we know that this is the result here. So we've got LOV that's come back there. It's succeeded. So we're going to move down into this particular path. And this is where we're just going to want to do all the other similar examples that we've done before, where we need to update our search results. So the first thing that we're going to do is call the API call. Oh, beg your pardon. Let's just undo that. We're going to want to update the app state, and we're going to want to choose add field, and we're going to want to set the search results. Choose search results. We're going to choose the update type as set value, and then the value source will be from the variable, which of course is going to be our action outputs. As you know, here is the LOV that we need here, so just choose that there, LOV, and then choose the API response as the JSON body. Of course, we're going to choose JSON path, and then inside the JSON path name, we're going to want to choose video, so just choose video and hit confirm. That's all that we need to do. Next up, we need to do our refinement, so we do the same thing there, hit add action. We're going to set up the app state there and choose add field. We're just going to choose our search refinements, and we'd select search refinements, choose the update type as set value, of course, and then value source will be from variable. We're going to go here and go down to our action outputs. Again, we use the LOV API response. I know we've got more than one on the page, but that's the one that we need for this particular call. Hit JSON body, and in here we're just going to choose JSON path, and with inside here we're just going to say refinements. Hit confirm. And then finally, our next piece of app state that we're going to need to set, of course, is our history. We're going to need to add the term to our history list. So let's choose that now. Let's choose the little plus, add action. And with inside here, we're going to update the app state here. We're going to say add field, and we're going to choose our history. And then with inside our history, we're going to select that, and we're going to do an update type. So of course, we're not going to set the value here. We're going to actually add to the list. We're going to add it to our history list. So choose add to list. Of course, the value source is going to be from our variable. We're going to choose the unset option, but this is slightly different because this is actually the widget state. So it's our text state. So we choose widget state here, and we're going to just say search term, and we know that by default the search term will be what would have been entered into that text box, and that's all that we need to do. Now, just for good measure here, let's just make a little change here. So this is something that we could do with doing on some of our other pages, is that actually if there's a problem with the API results, we do our search but it comes out with an error, then we can just be kind to the user and sort of show an error message. So let's do that now. Let's hit the little plus there, add an action. So what we're going to do here is we're actually just going to show a snack bar. So if I just scroll down here on the right hand side, there is an option here called show snack bar. So just choose that, and this will just show a kind of like a value that will just sort of appear on the bottom of our mobile application. We'll just sort of fly it from the bottom and just say, I don't know, we'll just call it search result error. So that'll just show a little message for us. So something that is a little bit more friendly to the user. And we can say actually try again. That makes sense. So that's all we need to do. So one other little bit that we also need to think about actually is when the user does the search, we're going to want to actually clear out the actual text box. We don't want to keep the term in there. So we can actually do that. And we'll do that just here. So we'll just put a little action here, add action. And you'll see down here there is actually an option that will allow us to actually clear that out. So it says clear text fields. Just choose that. And then just choose the actual search term there as the field to actually clear out. So that's all that we need to do at this particular stage. Hit close. And let's give this a little while. Of course, this won't make the API call because it's still calling our test JSON dummy sort of document. But at least it will demonstrate the term that's been added to our list here. So let's move over to test mode and give it a go. So let's hit the search option up here. Let's do a search for video test. Right, little problem we got here. So hitting carriage return means that we're now in a multi-line situation with our search box. We don't want that behavior. We want to hit the return on our keyboard or the done option on the mobile device, and then of course the search will carry out. So we can fix that by going back to our application, choosing the search term field, and here we want to just choose max lines. We only want one line. So just hit enter and let's go back into test mode, and then we should be good. Let's do a reload. So we go back to perform the search. Let's choose test term here, hit enter, and there we go. The magic. We have test term now added to our search history, which is fantastic. And just to prove that we can remove that, just hit the X and it's gone. So there you go. We made fantastic progress with inside our application today. We've kind of got that search screen sort of fleshed out. We are going to really crank it up in the next one because that's when we're going to need to call our real world API. And once we start doing that, the application will certainly start coming to life because we can actually search and make calls into the API, see the results come back, and the application is just going to feel a little bit more complete. We also need to focus our attention on the actual detail screen as well. We're going to want to select a video. We're going to want to start playing it back with inside FlutterFlow. And of course, we're going to want to show more content back from the authors channel as well. So please do like this video. It really, really does help the channel out. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe. There's going to be so much more no code FlutterFlow development